need be, if we wanted to nurture and keep requests so that their priorities increase over time, we can do that and keep them visible. So we have kind of a prioritization stage. Then it moves into capacity planning. So essentially we want to make sure that when we take projects, they come in, they will add value to the company. We screen them in that fashion. In some cases we nurture if they're not ready. But then once we have those that will add value, we have to make sure we have the resources. And that would be the capacity, the human beings capable of doing that, and also the budget to support that. And so when we have that, then it becomes a matter of execution. And so we have modules in Primms that deal with planning our work and working our plan and carrying that through. And then also we have the planning, we have the tracking and performance monitoring. We also have mentoring, which is key, and kind of overriding on all these dimensions is risk management. So in summary then, what we have are these a request process, we have authorizations that come out of this, we have capacity and priority to consider, and then when we have our projects that are authorized and ready to go and we can do them, we plan our work, we work our plan. That gives the project managers the ability to make sure they have the resources they need and to operate efficiently. And then we achieve our objectives, of course. So that's kind of the model. And what we find is that there's integration between project management here and portfolio management. So basically the project requests information is captured from the projects and put on the request. So they're a good source of analysis, and you'll see how we're able to achieve some of the goals in terms of clever design and efficient design, and also having this gestalt type of effect here, where in some cases seeing the big picture augments just the little picture that is so critical. So let's put the microscope under each of these, if we could. And what we have then is this request and justification. And I'm going to show you some screenshots that exist within the tool, and to kind of just make it go more efficiently than my jumping around on the screen, but I will walk you through the system. It starts out with creating project requests. Everything gets requested, and then ultimately this information is gathered about the project, what it is, its scope, its constraints, its priorities. These types of things require deliberation, and it doesn't come out immediately. And then as we understand what the project is, we have to start thinking about justifying it. So what is the ROI on this thing, or are we avoiding costs? What is our reason for doing this? Does it make sense to add value to the company to do this and give this project some level of priority? Then we also have to understand its costs in terms of why are we doing this? Do we have other alternatives? Do we have labor? What's it going to take? What's it going to do with outside vendors and so on? So it's gathering all this, and the Primms tool does collect this. We also have projects in terms of you might say their benefit overall to internally, and then also the alignment with the organization. You might think of it as risk or just overall alignment, and these are kinds of things we can rate, so that when we kind of go through this request management process, we can get a view of where the project request stands in terms of our priority versus our risk, in terms of does it fit, does it not, is it something we can feasibly do, and where does it stand? Does it have high priority and low risk? That would be the greatest. Do we want to do something that has low priority and high risk? Don't think so. So this is a very necessary, important part of the process that the tool takes care of. And then when we do reach that subset of projects that make sense to do, we have a method where we put them in queue, so to speak, and then we lock them, and they get an authorization number. And that's very important that when you have a portfolio system, that you have authorization numbers, because different people can name projects, the same project, a different name, or it can change over time. And you end up with great confusion in that you may have a lot more projects where 2 or 3 of them are really the same project that is renamed. And so managing all that is real critical. So having a number is key. Okay, so going ahead here, we've talked a little bit about justification and approval stage. Now we're going to be looking at our request pool and how this handles that, so that it allows nurturing, it allows awareness. Even as the projects are executed, our request pool can be used to status how we're doing from an overall portfolio perspective. And so here we have request reports that capture critical information about projects. And so here we have our work request name. If it's actually been developed as a project and created and gone that far, it captures that. It captures who the project manager is, the authorization number, the priority, the status, the anticipated start, the completion, and then if it's made it into the planning and execution phases, it kind of gets all that. So this is an Excel. It can be exported to Excel, and this becomes very, very useful information to have in a single spreadsheet that basically collects all your project information. And that was a schedule-oriented spreadsheet. This one is more of a business or cost-oriented spreadsheet that has similar information, but it also has the cost information on baseline budgets and actual costs, etc. So this allows kind of projects to be visible, but also we can nurture these, and as we will see later, that becomes real important. The next section that we have here is capacity planning for projects in a portfolio, and this is capacity, but also budget. So what we look at for considerations like this is that in Primms, what we do is we take those spreadsheets that I just showed you, and we can import that into tools such as MS Project, for instance, which is common, or in this case, OpenPlan. And I've chosen OpenPlan because it's a little bit more of a visual tool for my purposes in this explanation. And what it allows me to do is to take that priority information, each line item per project here. I'm looking, each one of these is a project that was on my spreadsheet, and I have priorities. MS Project tends to have priorities that where the highest gets the highest priority. OpenPlan tends to be the lowest is the highest priority. And I can see here that I'm looking at my overall resource assignments that I've made to these projects, and I exceed my capacity here. Now, if I use my priorities in this case, and I can see that regardless of what the customers want, it could be that I don't have the capacity to handle all these, right? Each of these are resources that would be assigned, and this is a view that shows the demand of resources for these various projects, which causes the overload. And so what resource leveling does is it takes these priorities and you execute resource leveling based on the priorities, and then it extends out and causes slippage early on of the lower priority projects because the resources are assigned later. And it also measures for you the slippage in terms of schedule float, how much, and what you'll see is that the higher priority projects tend to have zero slippage, the lower ones tend to have more slippage, which makes sense. And this is really beneficial because when you then have an idea of what it's going to take and the rough time window for a project manager, then the project manager has some hope of getting the resources that are needed. And that's absolutely critical because project managers don't own the resources typically. So hopefully that's a concept that comes out and kind of rings home to all of you. The other piece here is the budget constraint. So not only are we resource constrained in terms of people and hours, it's the amount of dollars that are available to fund these. So especially if these are internal investment projects or expense projects, as opposed to customer projects where you get revenue for those, this becomes even more critical that we understand how much we are spending during our planning periods, and if we're adding projects, what's that doing to us in terms of our ability to spend and afford it. So in a nutshell, that's, and we will walk through the tool shortly, but in a nutshell, that is what we have in terms of some of the portfolio functionality. Now we get into some of the project execution functionality. So once we've selected which projects we want, those go to project managers. and we may have project managers who